Hey, this is Matt Wimmer from Brody Precision. As we've discussed in previous videos, we really like the iSMA PA LED touchscreen display. And one of the really cool features of it is this LED that's around the outside of the display. Previously, we didn't really have an easy way to control that from within Niagara. We had to use an API in order to do it, and it just wasn't very clean. Now, iSMA has rolled out a module which allows you to very quickly and simply control that LED however you want to from Niagara. So in this video, we'll take a look at that, and I'll show you how maybe you could use an alarm class to change that LED so that it's red when you're in alarm, when you have unacknowledged alarms, and then it's green when you don't have any unacknowledged alarms. So let's jump on in and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is something that you should probably already be signed up for and be using because you're obviously a Brody Precision customer, so you get access to this. We're going to go to bptechcenter.com. We're going to go underneath vendors. So we're going to go to iSMA Controlly, and then we're going to scroll down here to iSMA SmartView, and we're going to grab this iSMA SmartView Niagara module, and it's what we're going to need in order to get started and going in using this functionality within Niagara. So once we have that downloaded, we will install it like we do with any other modules. So I'm using Niagara 414 here, and I've actually already done this, but in here you will see, and just do this, IC SmartView config RT module. We'll throw that in there, and then we will open up Workbench. I've already done it. So we'll open up Workbench, and I will go into my local station here, log in, and I'll open up the IC SmartView palette from the bottom left. And what you will see is that there are basically two objects that we're really going to concern ourselves with, and the first of which is the IC SmartViewService, and that's the first piece that we need to get installed into our station. And so we'll go into the station, config services, and then we will drag up this IC SmartViewService into our services container, leave the name as the default, and then we will jump into the container. And instead of using the SmartView Recipient, which may be your initial hunch to do, we're actually going to use the examples that are in here. There is a PA LED fully loaded, which we're using a PA LED, so that's what we're gonna grab. If we're using the other version of the touchscreen, you could grab that as well. But since we're using the PA LED, we'll grab that one. And what this has in it is all of the functionality basically already set up underneath the SmartView Recipient, which is all of these extensions down here. So it saves us a step by using the example. So we'll take this and we will grab it and pull it into our SmartViewService. And you can name that to be whatever you want. If you have multiple touchscreens that you're using out on a job, obviously you would want to name them in some kind of way that helps you distinguish them from each other. I only have a single one, so I'm going to leave this at the default for now. And then we'll expand it and we'll see what we have to deal with in here. So there are two important pieces that we obviously need to know when we're using the SmartView. We need to be able to talk to our touchscreen, which means we need to have the IP address of the touchscreen in order to get those communications set up. We will take a look at how you can find the IP address of the touchscreen in a second, because there's also another piece that we need to set up and know as well, and that is the credentials for the API access on the touchscreen. So let's jump over to a little video that I recorded from the touchscreen itself, where I show you how you can get your IP address and set up the credentials and make sure your API access is turned on. So let's jump into that now. All right, so within the SmartView application, we're going to double tap on the top bar here and get access to the controls that are in there. And we're going to hit the Manage button here in the bottom left, and that is going to bring us to this notification screen. From here, we're going to go to the top right, magnifying glass, and do a search, and then do network as what we're searching for. Tap in. I'm using Ethernet in my case, so we'll tap into Ethernet, and you can see right there that I have this IP address of 192.168.1.57 at my touchscreen. So we will make a note of that, and now we need to go into the settings of the SmartView app and make sure we have the proper setup in there. So within the SmartView app, which you can get to by just hitting the center button here at the bottom of the display. If you aren't in it for whatever reason, you should be, because that is the default functionality of the touchscreen. We'll go into the settings button here in the top right, and then scroll down a whole bunch until we get to remote management. We're going to make sure that enable API v2 is on. Then we'll go into the username. By default, it should be admin. And then we're going to set a password. You could set that to be whatever you want. In my case, I just have it as admin. Once those things are set up, we're good to go at our touchscreen for the control and access from within Niagara. So let's jump back into Niagara now that we have all the information that we need, and keep going. All right, so we've got the information that we need. So I know I need to punch in my IP address, and I know my credentials are admin. We'll say save here. Next, you'll see you'll get this SSL exception. The device certificate was not approved. This is a good thing. It means you're talking with your touchscreen, but we have to do another step. If you've used a lot of different services that make use of some kind of API or something like that, you may be familiar with this step, and that is going into your platform of your Jace or supervisor, wherever you're running this, and going into the certificate manager, hitting OK here to log in, and then I'm going to my Allowed Hosts tab. You'll see that you have a certificate in here that is not approved yet. We want to approve that certificate. Say yes, approve the exception. So now if we go back into our SmartViewService, and I'm just going to disable the recipient and re-enable it, you'll see now we have an OK time and everything is up and running as it should be. So there are a bunch of extensions in here. That's where the functionality sort of lives underneath. We've got the ability to change our kiosk mode settings. We can set an unlock password in here for that. The star of the show here, in my opinion, is this LED extension. We'll take a look at that in a minute. We can modify the screen brightness to be whatever we want and delay the change in the screen brightness there. And then we can also change the way that the screen saver behaves so that you don't have to do the login into the settings on your touchscreen and make the changes there. This especially is helpful, most of these things, if you have multiple of these displays that you're using at a job. You don't have to go into each individual one and make the changes. You could just do it all directly from the API access here. So let's get into the LED extension now. So the way this works is that there is a Boolean value here, which is going to let us control whether or not the LED is on or off. By default, it'll say false, but it'll only write on change. So you'll see it says false here, but the LED will still be on your display. Because that's the default value, it's not writing it unless you make a change. So if I was to change this to true, then back to false, it would write it. LED color. You can see there's a whole bunch of options here that are pre-built in, including flashing, different colors, and pulsing, that kind of thing. That is all an option for you. And iSMA has made this a lot easier on you. As you'll see in a moment, we'll make use of this. And they've defined a enum facet that we can make use of so that we don't have to go in and manually punch in these individual states in our enum that we want to use here to control the LED color. So let's do like we talked about before and control this based on alarms. So as you can see here, I've got an alarm class, and within that alarm class, there is this Unacked alarm count. I'll expand this so that we can see the number. And I've got one unacknowledged alarm. We want to make use of that alarm count so that we can change the color based on the count. So I'm going to link mark this since I know I want to use it. I'm going to come back into my SmartView recipient, and I'm going to go into my wire sheet, and you could do this logic anywhere you wanted to. I think it's just obviously a little bit easier to find and discover later if you do it within the LED or touchscreen object itself. So we are going to first, if you remember, we want to change the color based on whether we have greater than 0 alarms. So I'm going to go into my kit control, and I'm going to go to logic, and I'm going to pull out a greater than, say OK, and then I'm going to link in from my alarm class, and I'm going to use the Unacked alarm count. I'll go into one or in A with that, and then on in B, I will just hard code in a 0. And you can see that we're getting the value we expect out of that. Next, the piece that makes all of this work is that we have to go into util here and then choose an enum switch. And what this lets us do is based on the state of our greater than, we will switch between these two values. So our in true will be what we want our LED color to be when we're in alarm, and our in false will be when we are out of alarm. So if we go into the enum switch, we can make use of that those facets that I said were made up by iSMA for us by going into the facets themselves, the range, go in here, and then we'll say use frozen enum in range. And then we'll open this up and we'll say IC SmartView config LED color enum, say OK, and then you can see all of those facets are already built in there for us that we can use. We'll say OK again, OK, save this, and now if we go into our in true, if I refresh and go in here, in true means in alarm, we'll say red, and in false means we don't have any unacknowledged alarms. We'll say that's green. So we'll save that, and now we can see our output is going to red, and I will change this so that the output is going to my LED color, and you can't see it, but on my desk, that LED color immediately changed to red. That's one of the things that's really nice about this. It is incredibly fast at sending out the value and having it change so that we can see that color change immediately once the effect happens. So if I go into my alarm console now, and you can see I have one acknowledged alarm here, and I show you, if I change you to full screen so that you can see here my display, go this way, we're red, and if I click acknowledge, I'm clicking acknowledge, clicked, green. And if I go back over here and say, oh, we went back into alarm, and we're back to red. So hopefully that's helpful and informative for you. I think there's a lot of potential use cases for this. Obviously, it's Niagara, and it's very easy to link up all of this stuff. So you can really make use of full Niagara to control how you want this to change colors. It could be a specific point, a specific alarm point, a group of them. You could change different colors depending on certain scenarios. So not using a Boolean to control it like I was, you could use an enum to say when it's in this state, be this color. When it's in this state, be a different color. Ton of different options for making use of that LED. And as you can see, super simple and easy to set up. And I forgot to mention, there's no license involved in making use of that module and that service in Niagara. So thank you for watching. As always, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to check us out at brodyprecision.com and store.brodyprecision.com, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks.